Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin. Super excited to introduce you all to Suzanne. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh my gosh, anytime. Our first conversation was so enlightening, warm, eye-opening, and I can't wait to share your knowledge with our listeners on today's show. So can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Suzanne. I live just north of Toronto in Canada. And I have been coaching for a decade and a half now. I started off as a business coach, well, a life coach, and didn't love it. And so moved into business coaching, thought that would be better, and really started to love talking to people about their mindset and being more positive. And so I was telling people to do affirmations and all these wonderful things. And wasn't really getting transformation in my clients. They were having some results, but not getting the transformation I wanted them to get. So I started to learn about neuro-linguistic programming and neuroscience and hypnosis so I could create deep change in my clients. So today I'm an NLP master coach and trainer, master hypnotherapist, and I have a string of other designations.
It's perfect. We love that. We've had other people come on, but your perspective to talk about neurolinguistics, or even sometimes like one lady, she actually did like a system of shock waves in the brain. Really
Cool.
interesting. But
Yeah.
I love what you do specifically because before we hopped on, you talked about the root, the core. And I believe, and I'd love to know your perspective, but like as an intuitive and a highly sensitive, I always knew what my core um area to work on, right? Like was, but I
Oh.
didn't always want to talk about it. So, do you have clients that like totally are like, no, we're not going there? And how do you warm them up to it?
Oh goodness. That's a good one. So I'm going to start with the intuitive aspect
Okay.
because what I've learned is that the more we can get in our bodies, clear out past traumas, childhood patterns, limiting beliefs, negative emotions, and what we call gestalts in the brain, the more we can get grounded, be in our body, associated. And when we do all of that, the more we can connect, the more intuitive we get, the more clairaudient, clairsentient, claircognizant, all of the clairs. And so that's the joy in the work that I love doing is getting people to go deep first, do the clearing, build the foundation, pull out all the weeds and then, put in good soil, get grounded, practice that, and then go really high. I've seen I've seen clients go from a place of, I have one client that I'm working with right now. She's a professional. She came to me, she was making six figures. She wanted to get to 1 million in her professional business 5 years ago. Today, we've been working together on a regular basis since then. Today, she is writing not one, not two, but four books, all channeled to her because she's so open now. And the business is running and making $1 million a year. Went from mid six figures to 1 million easily. The more she connected with who she truly is and went up, and the business and everything is just flowing easily and naturally to her.
That is amazing.
Right.
It can be that easy.
So, how do I get people to believe that they can do something like that? I think is the question that you wove into all of that other thing, and which is a good question. Honestly, I talk to them just like I just did with you. I tell them real transformational stories. We call them in the world of neuro-linguistic programming a metaphor. It's a hypnotic process, and it helps the unconscious mind believe, hey, if they can do it, how can I do that? And so then the unconscious mind, which is, remember, 90% of our mind, the 10% is what's paying attention here and listening to us or having this in this conversation. The unconscious mind, as Deepak Chopra says, is always eavesdropping. and taking cues and clues and making decisions, especially if we put in strong emotion in there. And so it's always quietly working on our behalf. How can I? How can I? How can I find the solution? How can I make that happen for me? How can I? So there you go. So that's how I get them past their resistance, is talk to them about other stories so that I'm going to drop a term on you. The unconscious mind performs a transderivational search to find the answer that is the best for the individual. I don't know what it is as their coach. I don't know what it is. I can think I know what it is. I can make suggestions, but unless it comes from them for them, I could throw all sorts of words at them. This is why the affirmations that I was using 15, 20 years ago, when I first learned them from Brian Tracy and Dr. Norman Vincent Peale and Wayne Dyer, all the greats, and Louise Hay, of course, it wasn't working because my unconscious mind was fighting against it and going, no, you're not. Nuh-uh. Nope, that's not what we believe. You can say you're successful and rich and blah, 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 but I don't believe it, so it's not going to work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so good. I feel like we dove right in. This is perfect. This is what I think when I first started my business, because I started it so young, people would ask me, like, how did I have the confidence? Right. And it exactly came from the questions that you were asking, like your clients and probably yourself, right? That got you to where you are today. It's like, why not me? And how can I get there? I started exposing myself to people that were successful, because when you self-made success, it should be specific. When we don't know that it's possible, like, how would I tell myself that I could be an online entrepreneur right at 22 years old? Like, that was so crazy. I still think it is a little crazy, but I like being crazy, so I allow myself to be. Do you find that your clients are in a similar position when they rewire, right? They get to the resistance portion. Is there a lot of resistance that you find comes back up as they're unpacking whatever that core is for you?
Yeah. Short answer, yep. um, and what happens is we start off. So when I work with them, we spend 3 hours talking about everything that's happened for them in their life, everything that's happened to them. And I'm always listening to how the brain's doing the problem. And then we get down to their root problem. I guide them through a series of questions to get them to connect with their root problem and identify it. And then we light up the neurology in their brain in such a way that they can go back and go, oh, I can see how it was affecting this and that and this and that and the next thing. The next session, we do a major clearing. The technique that I use is a hypnotic technique. It is equivalent to 1,800 hours of talk therapy. So you can imagine they feel quite different at the end of that call. Sometimes they just go, wow, I'm so tired. Sometimes they say, oh, I feel so much lighter. But they're always feeling different. And then they go out into the world and they take action. And then, because we've done that big clearing, things are so much easier. Action is easy. Mindset is clear. Action is easy. And so they're moving along towards their goal, the result that they want. Here's what's fun. This gets to answering your question. The unconscious mind goes, no, 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 no. Remember, we've got this problem. You survived it. Keywords. You survived this in the past. My job is to keep you in survival mode. We're going to yank you back there. So the unconscious mind will create situations, relationships, find other people that will remind them of the exact same thing that they survived. And the unconscious mind goes, hallelujah, I'm doing my job. So just today, I was working with a client just an hour ago, and we're at 6 months. And she said, Suzanne, last week, my ex-husband did something. And it triggered for me and blah, 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 blah. And I went right back to that place 2 years ago, blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, good. Your unconscious mind is working for you. Celebration. It's trying to get you back to the place where you celebrated, where you survived. She was not happy with me. She's like, okay, I hear what you're saying. I don't love it, but I hear it. And so once what we did is we figured out what the trigger was, because there's always a trigger. There's always an external words or facial. So it's always an external, something that they hear or something that they see. And then when we got that, I said, now this doesn't, your ex-husband isn't the only one who triggers this, is he? No, no, it's my this and my this person and this client and that. Right. Okay. So what's trying to happen is your unconscious mind is still trying to run that old pattern. Again, survival. So we're just going to change it in such a way. So we just ran a technique and changed it, a neuro-linguistic programming technique, so that she could change it. And she connected with a new version of her. And we've created a new series of events that'll happen in her head instead of the old thing.
This is so cool because I find like a lot of our listeners probably feel this as well. When you have the self-awareness, right? That you know that you're going down the pattern and you're feeling so out of control, right? Especially when you've done a lot of work, like your clients, to get out of it. And it can feel like, boom, like, oh my gosh, is all that work lost, right? And there can be this like grieving period. And I see this like, for example, for people that may be listening that might not have this awareness yet, like I want to give a pretty clear example on an emotional level, like not just business. I lost a dog, right? Like when I was really young, and this was my favorite dog ever.
Mm.
And ever since I got other dogs, it would like be after their 6-year birthday, right? And you start to like pull away. I find this happens to a lot of children that have experienced childhood loss, like of a parent too. So your nervous system will start to like distance yourself, preparing for the death, right? Because that's was so hurtful when you were so in love with the dog and one day it's gone. And I've seen this pattern happen over my life. Right now, my little puppy is 6
Mm.
and she's my first like solo dog. And I've told myself I will never allow that detachment pattern to happen again because I'm her only mommy, right? I don't have my mom to be watching over the dogs. So I really want to make sure that I do it right. And it can be so intense. Like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and think like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be horrible when I lose her. And it's like kind of prepping for the future. Is that how you would describe some of these patterns that your clients may be experiencing? It's almost like their nervous system, or whatever we may call it, neuro-linguistic patterns, is preparing for a bad result. Like, so they kind of try to pull them back into that
Yeah.
comfortability again.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
absolutely. So that's a strategy that you're running. There's a trigger and you're running a strategy in your brain. In prep, you're running anticipatory grief in preparation for the loss, which is a protection pattern. Um, you've also just beautifully described a gestalt. And a
Okay.
gestalt is when an original event happens. And just like in an oyster, you know how pearl is formed? A piece of sand gets in an oyster and it starts to protect itself from the abrasiveness. So it wraps its whatever around and creates a beautiful pearl. I should really find out what that word is that wraps around to create the pearl. And that's a gestalt. And so what happens is you've had a trigger event happen, the first event, a significant emotional event that happened when the dog passed the first time. And then every other time you've experienced a loss of a pet, a relationship, a loved one, it that goes on, it creates this grief, this heavy grief gestalt.
Hmm.
And so that's what's happening. So when that's cleared, and that can be very easily cleared in a session, you just clear that, go back, and here's the technique. Here's the, without giving it all away, but like
Yeah.
you can just go back and to before the event has happened and just look down on the event from up high on your timeline and ask yourself, what is there to have learned from this event so you can let go of this fear,
Whoa.
anger, grief, whatever. And but remember, stay up high. It's usually better done. It's better done with somebody with you doing this, guiding you through the process, so you don't reinstall it and then drag it all along to today, and then come back above your timeline with the learnings, the lessons, oh wow, I remember how strong I was. I remember before how loving and compassionate I am, how kind I am, all of the positive things, and then just allow it to let go all the way back to now. And then it'll be interesting. Yes, in the future, you're still going to grieve the
Right.
loss. Of course, please do that, but it'll fire cleanly, much more cleanly without all the other losses.
Yeah, yeah. Almost like a string, right? Like,
We call it a
oh,
strand of pearls.
that makes so much
Yeah.
sense.
We just
Wow.
pull it. We pull the string and then and so what happens, did you ever watch Inside Out? Disney Pixar Inside Out.
Obsessed. Like
Right.
literally one of my favorite movies ever. That and Soul.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So what happens is all of those little bubbles that get every day get whooshed into the over as you're sleeping, they get whooshed over into the categories. What we do is we go in and pull all the ones that are all the negative emotions. And so that then they morph and transform into happier memories. And those get heavier, the gestalts on happiness and joy. So a lot of clients that I work with have said, I see color differently. Everything's brighter. I'm calmer. I'm more neutral when I work, when things happen. I can actually hear what people are saying as opposed to being in my head. All sorts of things. It's so fun.
Wow, this work is so cool. And like, what a second chance on life you give a lot of your clients to not live in the mundane, right?
Yeah.
Sadness and grief that we experience on that they've been calling in like the spiritual world, this place that we're all on earth school. And it can be so mundane, right? Like really
Yeah.
dark. And you
Yeah.
bring people back to such lightness in their
Yeah.
lives. It's such beautiful work.
I love
I
that.
and thank you so much for everything that you do. This is like you're a real light worker. I don't know if you resonate with that language. Okay, good. I can feel it. I felt it the first time we talked, but I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that here for our listeners who isn't watching the video as well, because you have this aura about yourself. I'd love to know more of the final results, just so some of the clients can, or potential clients that are listening to today. You mentioned money, you mentioned the emotional presence that your clients are able to hold. Is there any other results that maybe you've even been shocked to see some of your clients experience?
Some of them are shocking. Well, like there's all sorts of different ones, right? Some are steady and it takes them a couple of years, and then they realize, oops, sorry, I've got my email on.
No, you're good.
They let me just I'm going to start that little bit again to answer you, so you can just edit out the little dings.
Perfect.
Um, Great question. And what I'll share is some of the fun ones, the fast ones. So the co-author of the first book that I wrote here, The Millionaire Code, Sarah, came to me in August. She said, Suzanne, I want to get to seven figures this year. And I went, okay, what did you do last year? And she said 300. And I went, okay, let's go. And because I know that when I work with people, I can up to triple their neurology when it comes to revenue, as long as they take the action and do all the things that I say, that I give them guidelines for. And um and so she came August 21st. 110 days later, she texted me. We did multiple tech sessions and techniques. 110 days later, she texted me and she goes, just signed a deal. And it was $1,009,000. So she moved from 300,000 to a million in 110 days. That was a fun result. Results are not typical. Not everybody has that result. Another wonderful woman came to me in 2019, and she was a marketing person, and she knew that she was stopping herself from being visible. She was running imposter syndrome. She knew she needed to post more, but was in her own way. We did the work. And she came back and she said, Suzanne, like my husband's really enjoying me meeting with you. And I said, he is? Okay, that's not one of the results that I've had. She goes, yeah, I'm more excited about having sex now. because she felt more attractive. And when she felt more attractive, she wanted to have sex with her husband more. And so therefore they were in creation energy. And when that happened, guess what else happened? She was more willing to be visible and stand out on social media because she was more confident in her skin.
Wow.
She went from $120,000 in 2019 to, by the end of 2021 or 22, I can't remember, $1 million and
That is
16 weeks of vacation.
my gosh, I have chills. And being in marketing, what a massive jump that is. And also to have that much free time is like unheard of in our
Right?
field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Traveling in Europe with her kids and enjoying life. So those are some of the major ones. I've had other people who did not enjoy my coaching because I can be a bit firm. I can be loving. I can be firm. I can be what the client needs. And I had said to this client, I said, you've got to practice your sales conversation. I can't get you to your goal if you don't at least practice. You're not willing to have a sales conversation. You're not willing to ask for money. You're at least going to practice. I want you to have 3 practice. Just go talk to friends, sales calls before we meet again in 2 weeks. She was not happy. And I told her, here's the other thing. In many of the, if you've ever met an NLP coach, we're taught to put a financial consequence in place to make sure that they're continuing to move forward to do their tasks to get them to their goal. So I said, and if you don't do it, I will charge you $5,000. She was not happy with me times 2. Guess what happened? She went and did those calls. She said it wasn't as scary as I thought. Good. So then I didn't, so then we ended and everything was fine. And she reached a goal. And then I saw her 2 years later at an event, and she was talking about another coach, and I was like, and she wasn't saying really positive things, not horribly negative, but not. And I pulled her aside afterwards, and I said, I heard you talking about that coach. Was that me? Were you talking about me? She goes, oh my God, no. You're healer. You got me where I am. Without you, I wouldn't be here with my, like, she has a big business now and is making multiple 6 figures. And she's like, and has huge visibility. She has her own television program. So, like, huge syndicated television program. And so it's like, oh, so like everybody's different. Everybody does it in their own time. I will say many do it very much quicker than they even thought. I had another client, last example. She came to me, mindset challenges, past, like lots of trauma in the past, especially around mom and dad. We'll just say that. And she entered into we did a couple of months work, and then she entered into, with another coaching program, she entered into I can't remember what it was called, but it was some sort of a thing where a 90-day challenge to make money. And so she went out into the world differently. In 90 days, she signed $1.2 million in contracts.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. And before that, she was making, mid 6 figures, but not 1.2 million in 90 days. Now she has a multi-million-dollar business and is winning awards.
That is so cool. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you're just so proud to see them like at their full potential and
It's
happy again.
Yeah, that's all I want to do. I remember in 2005, I had just been fired from my corporate role, and I was devastated. And I remember standing in my girlfriend's interior design store, and it was that moment where you can see yourself from the outside. It was that moment, that prophetic moment. And I made a statement at that point in time. I said, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to unleash people's potential. I want to unleash their potential. And that has stuck with me. It's like that. I didn't know why I knew it, but I knew that was my goal. And that was over 20 years ago.
Wow. And look at here we are today.
Yeah.
So lucky to be speaking with you. This is so cool. I am so passionate about the work that you do, as I mentioned, but I'm really appreciate you sharing your
Um,
client stories with us too. So we know it's possible. And
yeah.
for all the listeners, please get in touch with Suzanne. Can you tell us how we should do so?
Oh, yes. Go to my website, successandclarity.com, and please book a call with me. It is a clarity call. I'm happy to go in any direction. If you just want to have a cup of coffee with me, I would be delighted. If you want to, talk to me about what I do and how I do it, I would be delighted. And if you would also like to buy one of our books, I have the Millionaire Codes book that I co-authored with Sarah Cannell, and I also wrote another book called The Millionaire Brain, which walks you through my process so that you can see exactly how I will coach you in case you want to do that instead or with me or yeah,
Love it.
Millionaire
Getting a
Brain, The Millionaire Codes.
Love it. Thank you so much. You can get a little taster from the books
Yeah.
or just jump in, right, and get in touch with Suzanne. If you have any questions for the listeners or cannot find the links below in the show notes, please DM me. I will directly connect you with Suzanne and get you over to her website. So thank you so much. This was so great. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to continuing our conversation soon.
Thank you so much. So lovely. Take care.